Good evening. I'm Clifford Murray, and I'm the founder of Empowerment for Tomorrow. And again, this is another topic learning assessment dealing with critical race theory, as well as moving on and dealing with the tenets that Empowerment for Tomorrow hangs its hat on. Again, if you've seen a few of my videos prior to this, you know what this channel is about and who this channel is for. Critical race theory, let's deal with that. It seems to be a topic that's gaining a lot of energy. Is it energy we need? I'm not sure. As a matter of fact, I think we will probably have to file this thing under the category of a distraction. What do I mean by all of this? First of all, I trust my older men who have sons in the foundational aspect of what this channel and platform are about, have the kids around the campfire. This critical race theory thing is just all over the place. And one of the things we need to go ahead and do, as my manner is, first of all, let's ensure that our young men understand exactly what it is. I had to go in and find out, what are they talking about? Every time I cut on a laptop over the last several months, CRT, we live in a world of acronyms, critical race thinking. My initial thought when I first heard it was, is this something like Adolf Hitler and Mein Kampf and his type of thinking of white supremacy? The Aryan race is the preeminent race and all of the races should be in subjection to him. I really didn't know, but I kept seeing it everywhere. What finally got me to really, okay, look at this thing is when I heard Mike Pence, the former vice president under the Trump administration, and Pat Robertson, you know, the televangelist, the guy who heads up the 700 Club, and I believe, if my memory serves me correct, he too put in a bid to run for president several years ago. So he's got that in his portfolio. And then looking at another article that came across my timeline, Fox News. They seem to be the only news outlet that's talking about this critical race theory. Now, when I think about critical thinking, Mike Pence, Pat Robertson, conservative-minded individuals, / white supremacist suspected type of ideology, type of men. Good Lord, by now we ought to know what Fox News generally stands for and promotes with their conservative ideology and spin on the news. Now, let me make sure I'm clear about this. As most of you know, I could care less about the Republican Party or the Democratic Party. Neither one of them, and I'll talk about this in at greater detail in a subsequent topic learning assessment. The Democratic or the Republican Party have never, capital N, capital E, capital V, capital E, capital R, with exclamation points running from here to damn California, have never done a damn thing for Black America, damn it. And we got these nigger surrogate bobbleheads who believe our only power, we've been brainwashed into thinking we have power in voting. That's another damn topic altogether. Let me make sure I stay on track real quick with this damn critical race theory. But looking at it from a political juggernaut, that's what got my attention. And over a month ago now, I guess about a month ago, back in June, I remember telling some of my stakeholders, let me find out what this critical race theory deal is about. And I remember saying to them, I had to pull up my old email just to make sure, because even when I researched it, and my first initial mindset, my inclination was like, could this be one of these things that'll have us Black America all jacked up and distracted. This may be something that white supremacy would want. And I remember telling the guys, CRT is the new buzzword in the dynamics of race in America. I don't have time to go into the details, but the initial research I've done today, when I actually decided to, let me go see what this critical race theory hubbub is all about, who's behind it, where and when did it start, and why are white people upset about the underpinnings of this CRT rhetoric. As it turns out, CRT, critical race theory, according to Wikipedia, I Googled it from Wikipedia just to get some assessment, just to get some sense of what's going on with this. It's all over the place. It's all over the timeline. Every time you cut on the laptop, every time I cut on my computer, now it's somewhat of a mainstream topic in the news. CNN now is doing things on it as well. But anyway, apparently this CRT, critical race thinking thing, according to Wikipedia, started decades ago. Even has its foundational basis in studies conducted by Frederick Douglass and W.B. Du Bois, just to name a few. At any rate, I said, good, bad, or ugly, this may prove to be an unwanted distraction Black America really doesn't need. I'll research and conduct more investigative insight with respect to this topic before I give my assessment. In the meantime, gentlemen, look up the topic on Wikipedia, Google, and process it through your own filters. This may be an issue that Fox News and white supremacy may want to stir the pot and have Black America engaged in interesting dynamics that we may not necessarily need to be involved with. And quite frankly, that's my overall assessment of critical race thinking. Now let's use a little damn common sense, black folk, black men. Critical race theory basically establishes what black folk should already damn know by now after 400 and something damn years. Promulgated systemic racism. It's an ism, racism. That means it's a premeditated, thought through plan of operation specifically designed to keep Black Americans at bay, to ensure that we never have an equal playing field. And quite frankly, that's been the situation for these 400 and something years, from chattel slavery through emancipation, white supremacist ideology, Jim Crow, Reconstruction, you name it. We still find ourselves, even after having a black president, even after having, my God, we could have a long list of superlatives of black people in America doing this and that. We still find ourselves, in my assessment, as America's permanent underclass, meaning Black America. Black America is America's permanent underclass. So now we've got a critical race theory, and the big thing behind it, Mike Pence and Pat Robertson, they're looking to put an emphasis on this critical race theory and teaching it in schools. Now let's use a little damn common sense here. That ought to be a red flag. We control nothing in America, and we sure as hell don't control curriculums in our elementary, middle, high school, college. Even our historically black colleges take a lot of their cues overall from white established controlled curriculums. So we get upset when some black men and women want to break away from that and go out and develop an educational system specifically designed for black people. That's another topic in and of itself, but there you go. So, critical race theory being established by a lot of black scholars, even has its underpinnings, like I said right here with W.B. Du Bois and Frederick Douglass. Basically, critical race theory is telling you about white privilege. It's telling you about how white America specifically went out and goes out and conducts business to ensure that black people and other marginalized groups, but I don't really give a damn about other marginalized groups and others and other people of color. I give a damn about black first. Now, this critical race theory is simply articulating what we already should damn know in this country, those of us who have a damn brain in our head. Well, of course, white America in practically every category of living in this country purposely goes out of its way to ensure that there is no equal playing field for black America in social constructs, education, finances, criminal justice, you name it. So that's essentially what critical race theory is doing. And I saw a white lady, I can't remember her name, but I think her title is the president or director of American curriculum or something. She was talking to Anderson Cooper I don't know, maybe it was last week or a few weeks ago, about the importance of having this critical race theory talked about in schools. You know, you got some of these talking heads that, after all of these years, want to paint a picture of, we need to ensure that all of our children understand the good, bad, and the ugly, and the bad and ugly of the United States of America, and what its true colors are about. My God, we've certainly seen that manifested on what happened on January 6th with the insurrection. And I think just recently, a judge handed out, that's been getting a lot of play on the news lately, an 8-month prison sentence where one of the many people involved in that insurrection on January 6th is going to get an 8-month sentence, and he probably won't even really do 8 months. So what kind of signal did that judge send to Americans who think you can just come up to our state capital, our nation's capital, and any other government building that white America likes to talk about, an attack on democracy and our freedoms and ideals? And that 8-month sentence might as well have been a slap on the wrist on what we all saw and witnessed that went down on January 6th. So now Mike Pence and Pat Robertson referring to this critical race theory being taught in schools as an evil. And he uses a term that it'll urge the black people to take the whipping whip from the white people and use it on them, type of thing, in an article that I saw last month. Black men, they put the critical race thinking in schools or so forth, whatever. Okay, fine, great. One of the things that white supremacy, me being I study white supremacy, essentially. And I've talked about this in my live presentations of Empowerment for Tomorrow. White supremacy, from what I can see, has 3 major tenets on what they like to do, among other things, with black America: diffuse, deflect, and distract. I refer to them as the 3 Ds. in my platform of empowerment for tomorrow, and I'll get more in detail with that as we move along through Cliff's office. This critical race theory I would file under the menu item of distraction. This thing is gaining steam like a locomotive going down the track, and I can see, like so many issues that they want to throw around and have energy and resources and mindsets put toward this damn critical race thinking thing on something we should already know. And quite frankly, let's be honest, why would white America be upset about it? White supremacy, they don't want you to know all of their tactics and moves and things. Now, a lot of these white conservatives are painting a picture of it's going to cause even more division, because essentially they don't want their white children knowing the truth and ugly side of America. I've said before, many times, years ago, America may very well be the greatest country on the face of the earth, except for the one black eye that they have. And it's one hell of a big black eye. And that's chattel slavery. And all of the things that they continue to do, and we see, and all of its underpinnings from white supremacy, white supremacy ideology, promulgated systemic racism, and so forth. Those beautiful words that so-called founding fathers, and a lot of times I refer to them as the founding fathers of chattel slavery, white supremacist ideology, and promulgated systemic racism. But those beautiful, eloquent words in the Constitution were specifically designed for white men only. I've explained this to my young black men in my Empowerment for Tomorrow classes in greater detail. It was never white men's intention to even have their white women on an equal playing field or footing with them socially, economically, or educationally. Their white women simply by default would bask in the privilege, if you will, because they would be married to white men. But the founding fathers specifically, at its core, was for white men and white men who were business owners and owned property, which again goes back to white men. The United States of America is specifically designed for white men at its hierarchy, and everybody else is just visiting. And critical race theory, among other things, is going to point out a slew of that. So let them go, let them run. We got other things we got to lock in on. So don't let this critical race theory get us sidetracked on what we need to be doing with black empowerment. They get it in the schools, fine. They don't, who gives a damn? This is something we always need to, this is something we should understand in the first damn place. But I can guarantee you, as it continues to pick up steam, we're going to have a lot of the nigger surrogate bobbleheads, and it's going to spill over more than likely into a lot of things with our so-called black civil organizations. And it's going to be one of those topics that's going to take on more energy than it needs to. This is stuff we should already be aware of and know of on what our oppressor has done to us. But again, you got so many of the kumbaya, ticket to ride Negroes, and I'm almost willing to bet my bottom dollar There will be a lot of insignificant measure. There will more than likely be enough nigger surrogate bobbleheads on the side of the Mike Pence and Pat Robertson. They're going to have some Negroes that they're going to put out there on camera in front of the world to see, to advocate for white America. Don't put this in schools. There are several states that have already decided to ban critical race thinking in their curriculum anyway. So whoop-de-doo, who gives a damn anything about white America showing its ugliness and its true colors, as if we don't see enough of that, haven't seen enough of that in 400 and something years. I don't know what to tell our black asses. So, gentlemen, my assessment would be file the critical race thinking in a trash can marked unwanted distraction. We need to keep moving on other things. And that brings me to, moreover, what I want to discuss. The tenets of empowerment for tomorrow, and the three things that empowerment for tomorrow hangs its hat on. We know that empowerment for tomorrow foundationally is geared and targeted for black males only, and foundationally between the ages of 14 and 19. Their biological father and or a male stakeholder would have to be present with them at the live presentations. And this YouTube channel, Cliff's Office, being an extension of that, I'm looking to try to move some things and see if this medium will get the word out more effectively and efficiently. We'll see what happens. But a 14, 15, 16, 17-year-old is not going to necessarily want to hear what I'm talking about unless their father and or an older male stakeholder brings them to a platform like this so we can plant the proper seeds. There's going to be a wealth of information, important information, that I've explained time and time again. Older men and younger men, that synergy between the two is going to be very important to lend itself to black empowerment. And this is one of those things. These are the three things that if I could get every 14 and 19-year-old black male in America in front of me to just establish these three things in his psyche, and we dib it. D-I-B. Discernment, intelligence, and balance. Those of us who understand spiritual matters understand there is numerical significance in what our Heavenly Father, our Most High, our Creator, has put into place. Everything means something to Him. And study has shown the number 3, spiritually speaking, is complete. And with that, I thought about, in moving this platform, I'm like, what do I need to do to get young black men to see that they subconsciously do these things anyway, but they need to have a more premeditated mindset about them. And if we can get young black men, even at the ripe old age of 14, to understand the importance as they move through their lives and begin to step out in this world, which is what they're doing at the age of 14 on, adolescence, things are coming into play in a lot of aspects in their lives, in their young lives, all the way through my age and beyond. Discernment, intelligence, and balance. critical, crucial, vital, imperative. Let's deal with discernment. Now, our Most High establishes that, and it's His will to give it to us. Discernment, gentlemen, and I hope you've got your young men around again. Discernment simply would be defined as we've got 5 senses: see, taste, smell, touch, hear. And yes, they go a long way in determining the stove is hot, don't touch it, you might get burned. That situation over there doesn't look good, doesn't look like a thing I need to be involved in. Well, the Most High gives us discernment from a spiritual standpoint when you don't have the 5 senses at all to even utilize. Now, most people, if they live long enough, if I was to go out and ask 10 people, 9 of them are going to say, well, I heard that still small voice tell me, without any 5 senses information coming in, something just told you, don't go that way today, go this way. Take the left road. Take the left fork in the road. Don't take the, well, that's the Most High communicating to you in His spirit, young man. As you get older, like anything else, you will have to grow and learn and mature and understand that voice overall. There was nothing in the 5 senses that told you to do this, do that, stop, go back, don't do that, come over here, go over there. Don't deal with that female. You don't know her from Adam. But something's telling you, don't deal with him, don't deal with that, don't do this, do that, don't do that. That's spiritual discernment. The other definition of discernment is the one that I put more of an emphasis on in the class. I explain how important it is to certainly have the understanding of spiritual discernment, but the other definition of discernment is simply the ability to judge well. Do I need to go out with these 5 guys after the high school football game and ride over into this part of town to cause mischief and bullshit? Is that something I need to be doing tonight? Do I need to be involved in this particular event? Do I need to have my energy and resources put into that? This discernment is important for Black men all the way through life. I'm using an example of things that adolescents that we have dealt with as an adolescent, but even in my age and in all points in between, the ability to judge well. I've looked at the investment portfolio on what this particular financial institution is trying to pitch me. Let me weigh it before I go out and make a snap judgment. Let me do a little research. Let me do a little study. Is this a particular company I need to be working for? Well, when I did research on them and performed a SWOT analysis and looked at this and that, I may bypass looking to be employed by this particular company. I may go over here and do this, do that. The ability to judge well, discernment. Do I buy this car from this dealership? Do I buy that house? Is this the college I may need to be considering? Do I need to consider college at all? That'll be another topic, learning assessment all on its own in greater detail. Just giving you some examples, young men and black men in general. Discernment. And so many of us, as we get older, we may need to have a better sense of reliance on that spiritual discernment more so than ever. But the ability to judge well. Yeah, your five senses are important. The ability to research and do things. Well, gentlemen, poor judgment and the inability to judge well has caused calamity, particularly in the black community, like you wouldn't believe. Again, this channel is about black men, how things affect black men. And statistical data still shows that though we make up 13.5 to about 15% of the nation's population, the criminal justice incarceration window of this country disproportionately has black men in prison more so than any other demographic per capita. In a perfect world, 13.5 to about 15% of the nation's population, we should only have about 13.5 to 15% of black men in jail for whatever various reasons. Most statistical data shows that we have over 48 to 50 something percent of the prison population black males. That's ridiculously pathetic. Discernment. The ability to judge well. Another tenet that Empowerment for Tomorrow hangs its hat on: intelligence. The ability to learn or understand or to deal with new or trying situations. I thought that was an interesting definition of intelligence. The ability to reason. Kind of goes back with discernment to a degree, but the skilled use of reason. Another definition, part two of intelligence, and this is the one I really took hold of when I looked at this and pointed this out in one of my live presentations. Normally when you hear about intelligence, it's a person that's smart, or that connotation tends to come to mind, but I like this second definition, B, the B side of intelligence. The ability to apply knowledge to manipulate one's environment. I didn't see that one coming with intelligence. The ability to apply knowledge to manipulate. That's being intelligent. One example I use, I bees in the trap. Well, if you know what the trap is, and I think I even heard one time there's a category of trap music now they've got. Well, the fact that you know you bees in the trap, which is to imply that you're being set up by the white supremacist racism machine, and it has you in these situations, as if to say, I can't get out of the trap, so I'm going to do all of the ugly things that being in the trap has me do as a young black man. Well, if you're intelligent about it, you'll imply knowledge to manipulate one's environment to get out of a trap of any kind. financial, educationally, so forth. Now that I'm intelligent about certain systems and how they are being utilized to keep black men marginalized and down, I'm intelligent enough to work toward undoing that and manipulating things in my world, in my life, with the Most High's help, of course, to change my environment. I love that part of being intelligent. Balance. Balance. Discernment, intelligence, and now balance. Balance is defined as to an offset or compare the value of one thing with another. An example might be the cost of obtaining such information needs to be balanced against its benefits. I look at balance as this, gentlemen, the good, bad, and ugly of life. Things have to be kept in proper balance. Our Creator created us, created our bodies. Now we have to eat. This is probably just a simple common sense example. That's the best as I can get. I have to have food in my body to live. If I put too much food in my body and don't exercise properly, I go to one extreme known as obesity. If I don't put enough food in my body, and we've seen this play out with models, these high-end supermodels who purposely binge and then want to regurgitate food. And on the other end of that spectrum, you fall into a category of known as anorexia. Obesity has the potential to kill you, where you're overweight and your bodily organs cannot function properly as God intended them to do. And on the other end of the spectrum, being anorexic, your bodily organs cannot function as the way they need to do, and you have the potential to die from anorexia. The balance is just that, being in the middle. Sufficient, proper weight. You're not obese and you're not anorexic. You're what a doctor would define as healthy for your height and so forth. That would be an example, gentlemen, of balance. Well, my wife and I were thinking about putting this money into, maybe we should do this or maybe we should do that. Well, let's hold that in abeyance. Let's talk about it. Let's discuss it. You see how all of these things play out. Discernment being incorporated more heavily sometimes in life situations. Intelligence being incorporated would have a heavier weighted value sometimes, and sometimes balance. Certain situations in life, you know what? Balance is probably going to be the heavier weighted value in this situation in life. Let's just keep that thing in its proper balance. Don't want to get too high, don't want to get too low. Want to be even keel with some things in life. These are the three major tenets that Empowerment for Tomorrow hangs its hat on, gentlemen. Discernment, intelligence, and balance. I would argue if our young black males have more of a premeditated mindset of incorporating discernment, intelligence, and balance in their walk throughout life, that would lend itself to Black empowerment and a better Black community if our young Black men in particular were to make sure they were incorporating those 3 tenets in their daily walk. Next week's topic, learning assessment, will be white supremacy distractions. Next week, white supremacy distractions. We're going to talk about that in great detail next week. I trust that this rendering of Cliff's office, handling that critical race theory, file it as an unwanted distraction. We got other things to deal with. And concentrate, you young men, on having a more premeditated sense of discernment, intelligence, and balance. I love you more than you know. Peace.